when they asked me about it, and I said, well, what all is it? And she said, well, it's raising money for scholarships.
Maybe those listeners that don't know who you are or what it is that you do, if you would maybe go in and kind of explain that.
Sure. My name is Erica LaHood. I am La Reina Linda. I'm number 11 for the Ray Feo Scholarship Foundation here in San Antonio.
Okay.
And what the organization does is raises money for scholarships for the youth of San Antonio, and they give back. And so we try to instill how important it is for the kids to further their education and, continue down that road, for them to be successful in life. So.
And if I heard correctly, you might have gotten a little taste of that when you were younger.
I did, yes. Thankfully, my parents were divorced when I was, really young, and my mom was a single mom of 3 kids. And, growing up in that environment, I didn't know that, how important education is, but if we could afford for me to go to school. And I graduated high school at 16, so
really?
I was young.
Okay.
And I skipped my junior year, so I went freshman, sophomore into my senior year.
Is that because you're so smart?
Maybe. Yeah, I think I just stacked my classes the right way that I was able to graduate in that 3rd year. But I got the early graduate scholarship, and then with that I got some more scholarships for grades and academics, and so that gave me the opportunity to further my education. So when they asked me to be La Reina, I really didn't know much about it. I had seen some of my friends last year. Stephanie is a good friend of mine, so I was kind of watching her and went to some of her events. And when they asked me about it, and I said, well, what all is it? And she said, well, it's raising money for scholarships. And I felt like, oh my gosh, yes, full circle, let's do it.
Right.
Let's give back what I used and was able to use to be successful. Let's do it. Let's raise money for San Antonio and give some scholarships away. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I was in when I first started coming down to San Antonio and started kind of being around the this community and stuff. I didn't realize what a big but small city is and and how tight knit it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I've been down here, I come to find that out. And then I hear about Fiesta and Ray Feo and all this stuff. And I'm from Northeast Ohio. There's not anything like that going on. It's such a depressed area.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know why more cities don't take note and do things like this.
Well, and a lot of people here in San Antonio don't know what Fiesta is about, right? They think it's just a big party, and which it is.
All the crazy TikTok and Instagram videos I see.
Yeah, it is a big party, but in the background, we're working for a full year to raise scholarships and raise money, and so we're working this, for an entire year, and then we party, and then we celebrate what we've accomplished. So I think that's important for just the community of San Antonio to realize that it's not just a party. It's hard work and dedication that we're putting in for the future of San Antonio, right? The youth of San Antonio. And I think that's real important for people to understand. And, that's what I'm hopeful to bring awareness to is to get the community more involved and more engaged, and the companies here in San Antonio to really get behind what we're trying to do and accomplish here for the future of San Antonio, right? Whether it's going to be, future employees, because we've pumped money into them. Now we're educating. Instead of bringing in people from out of town to do these jobs, why don't we just pump money into the youth and make sure that they're well-rounded so that we can, pick them for our workforce later.
Yeah,
I think that's
future.
important. Yeah, it's important.
So for somebody outside of the San Antonio area, can you kind of break down for them and for me, like, what is Fiesta?
Fiesta it is a party.
Okay.
But again, it is just it's celebrating what all we've accomplished over the entire year, and then everybody has their own Fiesta parties, right? So different organizations make it about different things, but the Ray Feo Foundation, we make it about the kids, and that's what we're celebrating is what are we giving back and how are we instilling the importance of education to them. So that's what we're partying, and that's we call it a party for a cause, right?
Right.
But it's a good cause and it's a good mission, and I think the more people that we have to get behind it, it's important for us. So I think it's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so can you say the title, what's your title again?
La Reina Linda.
La Reina Linda.
La Reina Linda. So there's Ray Feo,
right,
and then I'm his counterpart.
Right.
And I'm number 11, so this is the 11th year that La Reina Linda has been around.
Okay.
And I think last year Stephanie Garcia raised $250,000 for scholarships. And not to compete with her because her and I are friends, but she said, go ahead, girlfriend, you
Yeah.
raise more money than me and give it back. So
Right.
that's what I'm hoping to do, is to crush her goal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So with your title, what does that all come with? What does a day, a week, month, year look like for you? What are you doing?
Oh, gosh. Well, I just got to look at my crown
Okay.
today. I got a little sneak peek of that. So that's, that was fun and exciting to see it all come together. And so I will raise money for this entire year and host events and have sponsors, donate money, and also give them the opportunity to get involved and put their name out there that they're going to be involved with, giving back to the community. And then we will do school visits. So I will be with Fabian, and we will visit, 76 schools I think we've talked about. And we'll go and see all the kids and show up with our crowns. And, they're still impressionable at that age.
Yeah.
And so for them, for king and queens to come in and kind of see and engage and interact with them, and then talk about how important it is. Like, education is so important, right? And hopefully that sticks with them as they grow older. And
Right.
then they're able to apply for these scholarships, later. And they're going to remember, oh, the king and the queens, they were here and they talked to us. And now we can get some of that money to help, get my degree. So we'll visit the schools, and then we will be a part of Fiesta. So we'll be on the floats and in the parades, and visit different parties and show up there with our royal family and court, and all have a good time doing
Awesome.
it. Yeah.
What did it feel like when you got the call?
It was a very surreal moment. I'm like, me, of all people. I mean, our family is very engaged in the community, but I'm married into that family. I'm not used to that. I'm from Corpus. I'm bottom of the barrel. We had nothing growing up, and so when it was like, oh, y'all are asking me, I thought it was very touching and very moving, and I feel very blessed that they asked me to do that. So
Really?
yeah.
That you kind of sound like my wife right now, because my wife is she's she's kind of an introvert. She's a homebody. She could be quiet unless you really get to know her. And then she ended up with me, and it just so happens that so much of the stuff I do is public, and me putting myself out there, and wherever I'm going, chit chatting with people, and she's so not like that, and so she gets a little bit of anxiety when I tell her we have events coming up or a speaking engagement or something for the podcast.
Yeah,
like that.
usually
so,
I'm in the background, right? Just
Right.
to shake the hands or be there in support of my husband and what he does. So it's been kind of my moment,
Right.
and I think he's fully supportive too now.
Awesome.
So it's nice for him to see it, and he's super excited. And my kids, I have 4 kids.
Oh.
And my youngest is 2, and then a 4-year-old, and then a 6-year-old, and then a 17-year-old. So I've got the whole range.
Right.
And I think the littlest ones are so excited that mommy's going to be queen that they can't stand it. They just.
Now they have to listen to you. You're the queen, right?
Right.
Right. You got to tell them.
Yeah, I'm the queen.
Man, I can only imagine being such a little kid and looking at your mom and saying she's a queen.
Oh, they're going to flip when I come home with my crown.
That's going to be nuts.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So my little one told me the other day that she was going to be Reina Linda too. And I said, oh, really? That's awesome. So hopefully we can keep that,
Keep it in the family.
keep it in the family, and maybe pass down the crown and let them wear moms. So.
That's a pretty cool thing for a daughter to be able to look up to her mother for,
Yeah.
and to be able to pursue, and especially for such a noble cause.
Right.
So how do you go about finding the kids that get these scholarships, and how do you decide how much they get, where it goes, all that kind of stuff?
So that's all set by the Raphael organization, the foundation. They do that, and I believe that they just bumped up their awards to $4,000
Okay.
a year. I think that's what it is $4,000 a year now, and just because we've raised good money in the last couple of years, so they just apply. And they have to meet the requirements, of course. And then if they meet the GPA requirements, they can keep applying while they're in high school, while they're in college. So every semester they can reapply.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you're doing school visits, kind of on middle school, preparing them for when they go to high school, letting them know that this could be an option.
I think it's the whole range, right? I think we do elementary, middle school, and high schoolers. So we'll do different talks at different levels.
Okay.
And so we'll get to squeeze on the little ones, and then the older ones that probably think school's not fun, we'll try to rein them back in and tell them how important it is for them to.
If we all knew when we were young, well, you did evidently know, but if I only knew how important education was and stuff like that when I was young, as you get older, so hopefully that sinks in for them too.
Hopefully. I mean, that's our goal and that's our mission, and so we'll do our part, and everybody's got to do their part, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
That's awesome. I've talked about it a bunch on the podcast, and I spoke with the new Ray Feo about it when he came on. And one of my goals that I want to accomplish is to be able to get into schools and start speaking and try to make a difference there. Mm-hmm. It's so sad every time you turn on the news. I see these kids dying from fentanyl, and the age just keeps getting younger and younger.
So sad. Mm-hmm.
Me personally, I didn't discover hard drugs till I was out of high school, and then I had left for the military, and I come back years later, and now it's kids in high school, and then you hear kids in grade school.
Right.
Especially when OxyContin and the opioid epidemic hit, it just keeps going back further and further and younger and younger, and it's very scary. And so I've, in Austin, San Antonio, wherever I go, like my goal is I want to be able to go and speak at schools and try to use my experience to help others. Sure. And as I told Ray Feo, I don't know what it is, but it's been one of the hardest things I've ever tried to do. I thought it would kind of be a no-brainer. But I don't know if it's schools don't want to bring somebody in because then it kind of brings light to them thinking that they have a problem at their school. But it's kind of either that or, you end up on the news, unfortunately.
Yeah, you can't hide it. You can't sweep it under the rug. It definitely needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
And getting into the schools, that's one of the things that I'm most excited about, I think, is to hug the little kids.
Mm-hmm.
You never know what they're going through at home.
Right.
Or what their parents are up to in the background, right? So to be able to take that away and give them a little hug or a squeeze or a smile, for those 20 minutes that you're in their gym, may be life-changing for them,
right.
But it is important for us to get in the schools. So I hope that you get in there.
Me too.
I mean, yeah.
If I can ever help further your guys' cause or help support you, let me know.
I appreciate that.
I've been speaking at some summer camps over the summer, and a lot of the kids that are at these summer camps, low income or come from troubled neighborhoods, troubled upbringings, and stuff like that, and to just see how they gravitate towards me when I come out there. They see the tattoos or the shoes or whatever like that, and that's what draws them in. But the more I talk about it, and I tell my story, the level of education they have when it comes to like drugs or that kind of life is like staggering. I knew nothing about that when I was a kid. And so it just keeps reaffirming that that's something that I need to be pursuing and something that I need to be doing.
Well, sure. I mean, especially with social media now.
Yeah.
That it's just all the information is so at their fingertips that it's there every day.
Yeah.
And so they're talking about it with their friends. They're passing it along at school, their older brothers, their older sisters, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's really scary times right now, and I think it is important for everybody to be able to talk to kids.
Absolutely. I think I don't know why there's been. It doesn't seem. I'm not saying San Antonio. I'm just saying in general. It doesn't seem that there's like as much of an emphasis on actual education or the quality of education, quality of paying teachers and stuff like that. I never thought I'd be talking about topics like this, but now I'm in my 40s, and all of a sudden things like this get me going and interest me, and I want to know, why is it like this? Why doesn't this change? And like my mother was a teacher, and I grew up knowing the impact that she had on people. Her students would tell me all the time what an amazing teacher she was, what an amazing woman she was. And so just knowing, like, growing up, for me it was coaches. Unfortunately, I didn't put the effort into school that I should, and so, but I had teachers that they broke through. You know what I mean? They got to me, and so I just want to be able to be that for kids, and I'm sure you do too. Is be that one person that they're able to look up to and be like, that's what I do.
My campaign slogan is one caring adult, one bright future.
Really?
Yeah, and so that's what I'm trying to do, is just be that one person that's gonna help facilitate a bright future for the kids.
Right.
Because that's all it takes.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think it was for you at a young age that kept you on the right track and so involved in school and getting good grades? Or was that just kind of you naturally?
Maybe naturally. Maybe it was the upbringing. Maybe just seeing my mom struggle and realizing that that's not what I wanted for myself. And I always knew I had an aunt, and she was a businesswoman, and she always came in bright colors and lots of jewelry and everything. And I remember just seeing her. And whenever people started saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? I would think of my Aunt Dot and say, I want to be a businesswoman.
Really?
And now here I am in bright colors and lots of jewelry. And so it kind of just stuck with me that that's what I wanted to do. So I got a business degree, and from there started a company in 2012 in the oil field and never looked back and just kept going.
Well, that shows you right there how impressionable kids are, that even that happened to you way back then, and then look what, it's exactly what you became. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So when you go in and you talk to the kids, you're in the schools, what are you talking about? How are you, like, what's your motivational tactics?
I think we're just going to motivate. We have a book that we've picked out.
Okay.
It's about a raccoon, right? I believe it's a raccoon. And we're going to talk about just life and how to persevere and push through and make the best, be the best person you can.
Right.
Contributing member to society.
Right. That's
so,
good.
Yeah.
So you're in the oil and gas?
I am.
So when I was getting out of the military, I got sold this dream that if I went and did this 8-week course on how to build ROVs, which are remote operated vehicles, the little robots under the ocean that would inspect these pipelines and stuff, that I was going to get this $100,000 a year job working for BP and Shell, and we're good to go. And boy, I went to that school and I got out ready to make my $100,000, and that did not happen.
Everybody gets sold the dream at one point,
Yeah.
especially in South Texas.
Yeah, oil and gas. That's what you got to get into. So what, if you don't mind me asking, what is your business?
I do chemicals.
Okay.
Yeah, so we sell chemicals. So when they drill the wells, we go in and clean the well bore out before the returns start coming out. So that's what we do, yeah.
What got you into that? How did you
my
choose
brother
that?
at the time was a mud engineer, and he was making mud, and I was doing accounting, and I sat for my first tax season, and I thought, I do not care about maximizing somebody's tax return. That is just not for me. And so he said, why don't you get into sales? And so I said, what am I going to sell? He goes, I don't know. The field is hot right now. Let's do something. So my brother and I partnered together, and we decided to sell chemical, and that was in 2012. So
Never look back.
never look back.
Good.
Sometimes it's hard because you're in a male-dominant industry, and they want to, let me tell you something, sweetheart,
Yeah.
But then when I...
Guys don't do that, do they?
Oh, for sure, 1,000%. Yeah, absolutely. They mansplain you.
Oh.
But it's kind of funny, but, if they're in a problem and then I fix the problem or make a suggestion, and then I say, I'm just a woman in the field, what do I know?
Right.
And then they look at me like, let's go ahead with that recommendation that you just said. And I'm like, okay. So
Right.
much for mansplaining. Let me womansplain you.
Right. I need it. I need to. I'm to the age now where I definitely know that I need the guidance of my wife and the other strong women around me, my mother,
Right.
people like that.
Yeah.
When I was young and dumb, I didn't think I needed it, but that's how I wondered why I got in so much trouble.
Hey, that's how you know you really grew up.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure. Do you watch movies?
I
Are
do.
you a big movie person?
I'm not a big movie. My husband's a big movie person. I'm not.
Right.
I watch
Have you
movies
seen the
like-
new Twisters?
No.
So the new Twisters is incredible. This isn't a plug for the movie or anything like that, but I think one of the reasons I love the movie so much is the female lead in it. She's so good. She's so smart. She's so strong. And it's like, that's just what made the movie. You know what I mean? It wasn't some over-the-top, unbelievable thing, but it was just, she was perfect for the role. And so it was cool to see that, where there's this strong female lead, and you know what I mean? It didn't have to be some like macho crazy thing that
Right.
like couldn't happen. Like, it was all believable. It was just because she was so smart. So you should check it out.
Awesome.
Pretty good.
Thank you.
So let's say a young woman is listening to this, and she heard your story, and she hears what you do, and she's super motivated and everything. Like, what would be your advice? Maybe she's going through a little struggle.
My advice would be to keep your head on straight and continue down the path that you want to go down, and never let anybody mansplain you. Right?
Very good.
There's such this transition right now in the culture of being such a fierce woman, and although it's nice to be a fierce woman, you also need to be just a woman, right? And to be loving and to be caring and to be motherly also as well. So I know the new generation is like ex-Nata kids or have one or two and then kind of hold up on it, but kids are the future, and they're such a blessing from God, and
Yeah.
so don't let your career drive your life. just let your heart.
Yeah. Man, that's pretty profound.
Sorry.
No, that's great. That's great. So what like once you're done with your term, I'm sure y'all still stay involved and continue to do stuff?
We do, yes. The future queens are super involved, and so in fact, they're going to throw me a dinner next week, and we're going to have all the Reinas there from previous, and we'll all sit down together and kind of share stories and what works and what doesn't work and be supportive of each other. So I'm looking forward to that as well, to stay involved with the organization and the foundation. I would like to make a book with the other queens on here's what to do, because when I came into Reign, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, okay, good luck. Here's your contract. Let's go. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And then people are like, hey, did you do your crest? Hey, have you done your crown? You're like, what is all this crest crown stuff talk? What? So I'd like to make like a how-to book, how to be a queen,
mm-hmm.
right? With all the tips and everything in there.
There you go.
Queening is hard.
I can only imagine.
You know, nobody realizes that to your queen.
What do you think's the toughest part?
I would say raising money, but I'm really good at asking people for money. So,
what's your trick? What's your secret? You can tell me off air. You don't got to tell me.
No, I'll tell you. Is to make it uncomfortable for people.
Okay.
You know, you just got to put them on the spot.
Right.
So they are all excited about, oh, what do you do? Oh, I want to be involved. I want to be engaged. Okay, perfect. How much can I count you in for?
Mm.
And then they're like deer in headlights. You want my money? Or your money, your time, show up, whatever.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, don't talk about it, be about it. That's right. Yeah.
I like that. So how old are your kids?
17, 6, 4, and 2.
Boys, girls?
3 girls and 1 boy.
Was the boy the oldest?
He's the 6-year-old.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's got older sisters?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
1 older sister and then 2 younger sisters. So he's like sandwiched in between all the girls.
And so I know you were saying the youngest said that, but what do they all think about it?
So my son just keeps saying, you haven't fiestaed without me, have you? And I'm like, no, it's a year. We have a year, buddy. And he's like, okay, I'm going to be on the float with you. And I think that makes me a prince. And I'm like, it does.
Very smart.
Yeah, so.
Very smart.
And my oldest is 17. She's in the thick of high school. She's going into her senior year. So she kind of makes jabs at me like, oh, here's the Reina coming in, Right. Are you Reina or are you mom right now? And she kind of joke about it, but it's fun. I just sent her a little video of my crown and she said, wow, that's beautiful. So I know she's excited, but they don't really show much excitement or support at that age. Unfortunately, they're in the boyfriend phase.
Yeah,
and she
more
plays
important things.
Yeah, she plays volleyball, and so it's like all that stuff. So
if you could send us the video or the picture of the crown, I'd love to put it up during the episode.
Sure, yeah.
Just so people can kind of see maybe some pictures of what you guys do, you and the Rayfeo and all that, just so we could show people exactly what you do.
Right.
So if, let's say a student hears this and they want to apply, or maybe a parent hears this and they want to apply for their son or daughter, what's that process look like?
They can just go to the Rayfeo Foundation online, and there's an application online that they can go to, and has all the link and information stuff. We can put it up on the screen here, but I think it's just rayfeofoundation.com or .org.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so it's going to give them basically a partial scholarship, and is that to you guys decide where it goes, or it's to wherever they want to go to school?
Wherever they want to go. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know the previous king had set some money aside for vocational schools, so that's pretty cool too, trade schools. And I know Fabian's planning on doing something, doing his own deal. So, we got to get behind those dying jobs that that we need, right?
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
He was very excited about that, and I loved hearing that. And I was telling him, my mother was a college professor, and so I grew up thinking like I had to do that. Mm-hmm. And basketball was a huge part of my life, and so I had this image in my head I was going to be a pro basketball player. Didn't realize that was not going to ever happen. And so then I start getting to the point now where I'm out of school and starting to get in a little bit of trouble, and I had to make a decision. And so then I have all this pressure. All right, I got to go to school. And so I entered one semester of school, but it took me a couple of days to realize that teachers didn't care if you showed up or not.
Right.
And that was all I needed to know.
Right.
And so I didn't even end up going back, which huge mistake. But where was I going with this? I apologize.
Good.
Not understanding like what education, truly did for me and anything like that. Man, I'm very sorry. Huh? Oh, vocation. That's right.
Yeah.
And I remember my stepdad having a conversation with me, and he's like, and he's a steel worker. And so it was the two sides of the coin. My mother's an academic, and my stepdad works turns. And I remember him having like a very heartfelt conversation. He was like, it's okay. Like, you don't have to go to college. You could still be very successful and do all these things. And I was like, oh, okay, wow. And he's like, we need electricians. We need plumbers. We need this, that, and the other. And I mean, now more than ever, like they're making crazy good money, and it's a very good field to get into.
Welders,
yeah.
I mean, they make great money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think, I think that's awesome that you guys have opened it up and being able to offer it to any of that. And it's not just limited to somebody that wants to go be an academic and somebody that wants to be blue collar, get their hands dirty, and that's what's a rewarding field for them.
Right. Another group that has sponsored me is Hope Hits Harder.
Okay.
They're a foundation that pumps money into pediatric oncology patients, so kids with cancer.
Okay.
And they've contributed a fund for just kids with cancer to further their education, which I think is super neat too. So we're kind of getting, Ray Feo is kind of growing across the board as far as scholarships and availability to different different individuals. So it's fun to be a part of that.
No, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. What would you say about all this position? Like, what motivates you the most?
I think the kids motivate me the most. Obviously, I love kids. I have 4, right? But I think that's what motivates me is to be able to instill that they can have a better life than what they have now. And everybody wants better for the next generations to come. We spoil our kids, I'm sure, because we weren't spoiled, right? And so in order for you to be able to give that to other people that may have not had that opportunity otherwise, I think that's what's motivating for me. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if a little bit I got some fun questions for you.
Okay.
All right. They're a little bit more on the personal side, just to help the people to get to know who you are.
Yeah.
And so one of the questions I always ask all my guests is, so hypothetically speaking, you're walking out for the UFC championship of the world tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get motivated. What is your fight song?
Ooh, what is my fight song? I don't know. That's a really good question. A Revolution, Courage to Grow.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna have to look it up. What kind of music?
It's more of a reggae kind of vibe, but it talks about just having the courage to grow.
Okay, so song with a message.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I like it. What's something that most people probably don't know about you? That you would like them to know.
Oh, that I would like them to know. Well.
Or just an interesting fact.
Interesting fact that probably most people don't know is that I competed riding horses when I was younger, doing equestrian riding.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I did dressage and 3-day eventing and all the things. So yeah.
All right. So what? I have no idea what's.
It's
dressage?
like English. It's like English
Right.
riding. It's more of a formal riding, and you're like.
Is that where they're like?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, doing
you do a.
There you go, like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like that. Yeah. The horses do that, but it's all about you have to make you're making your horse perform a certain pattern, or it's laid out for you, and you have to go and perfect it for the judges.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow. What got you into that?
My father's from Peru, and my grandparents rode horses over there. My grandfather rode for the cavalry, and then my grandmother was she was a stadium jumper, and so it was just in our blood. And so my dad decided to get horses and get some land, and that was my task and role and duty was to help train and ride and all that stuff. So
your dad was in the cavalry?
My grandfather.
Oh, your grandfather was in the cavalry.
Yeah. So.
I was in first cavalry was my unit in the military.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I never rode horses though, but I've only ever ridden a horse one time in my life.
Did you get bucked off?
I did not, but
oh, there you go.
We were on our honeymoon, and we were on an island in Mexico, And so my wife loves animals, and so we had to ride horses on the beach.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, come on, we'll go do it. And so we gotten up. We were on a cruise. We got off the ship, and we're sitting in line, and we're waiting to go. And we're standing in line, and there was a guy, I think it was from Missouri, and he was a cop. And so we were sitting there talking back and forth. And he was a bigger guy. He was maybe 20 pounds lighter than me. And so we're sitting there talking, long line. And all of a sudden, they bring a scale out, and they set the scale on the ground. And I'm like, what are they doing? They're weighing people? And I had asked my wife, and she goes, oh, yeah, there's a weight limit. And I was like, well, what is it? And she goes, I think it's like 200 pounds. And I was like, babe, I weigh 250. Like, I'm not even close.
Yeah, I'm not making the cut.
Yeah, what am I going to do? And so we asked the lady, and she's like, no, you're not going to be able to get on one of the horses. And I was like, all right, no worries. And my wife was not having that.
Oh, no.
And so the woman was like, let me call ahead and ask the trainer, and we'll see if you can get on. And I was like, okay, cool. And so they call ahead, and they said, yeah, all right, you should be good. Go ahead and go. So we go there, and, it was a 20-minute ride. We get there, and I remember getting out of the van, and as soon as the horse trainer lady saw me, she goes, nah, you're not getting on one of these horses. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, I don't want to.
How mad was your wife?
Well, so I ended up they ended up finding a horse, and they were like, all right, Luna, like, she's the biggest horse. You should be good. And I was like, all right, cool. Now, I've never been on a horse before, and I wouldn't normally ever be scared to ride a horse, but just the fact of them telling me that I was probably going to be too heavy, now I'm afraid I'm going to, like, make the horse mad.
Squish the horse.
And these weren't, like, tiny horses or anything, and I'm not by no means am I that big. And so I remember we got on the horse, and we're sitting there, and the cop, he was back way in the back or whatever, and his horse started to buck, and the horse trainer woman lady is up here in the front, and she goes, he is just much too heavy for that horse, and then rode back there. And I was like, well, if he's too heavy, what about me?
Oh, no.
And so we ended up being fine. Everything was good. But we went on our little trail, and then the funniest part about it all was we went and it ends in the ocean. And so the water's like basically up to your knees, but it's like here on the horse. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I don't know how it happened, but it was like one by one, each horse started to use the bathroom.
Oh, no.
And so we're coming down like a private beach to the resort that's there. And so there's people in the water. And so we go by, and as we go by, then all the horse poop is coming down. So all these people are in the ocean with the water, and they're all screaming. And then by the time we're out, and I was like, this was an experience to say the least.
Yeah.
But thankfully, the horse was very nice. Nothing happened. But that was my one experience riding a horse.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, but I didn't get bucked off or anything like that. It is fun.
It is a lot of fun.
And there's so much. So I do a lot of work in the recovery field, and in equine therapy. There's a lot of facilities that offer that, and I see the benefit that it has with people and just being able to be around and care for the horses.
Yeah.
Did you find that like therapeutic for you, being able to work with horses and ride?
I don't think so, because it was more of a task than anything. It's so when it's, you kind of have to do it every day, and my dad wanted me to train, and he wanted me to go to the Olympics and all the things, and so it was like, you kind of get burnt out at that point.
Right.
It was fun. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we would take our horses to the pond and ride bareback with them until they're, you're floating, and the horse is trying to like keep its head up. But it was fun.
Right.
I had fun doing it. Yeah.
That's awesome. Has any of your daughters followed in those footsteps?
No, and I don't even think they know.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We got an exclusive today.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Wow. So hush, hush. Yeah.
All right. Good. So what would you say? Would you say you're more of a Coke or a Pepsi person?
Ooh, Coke.
Coke.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your main motivators growing up? Who'd you draw inspiration from? Who'd you really look up to? Most people usually go with the honorable answer and say somebody from their family, and rarely will they ever give like a celebrity or anything like that. So if you have both, that would be awesome.
Well, I think my aunt.
Okay.
I told you.
Obviously.
Yeah, I don't think she knows that. I might have to send her this podcast after that.
We'll clip that out and shoot it over to her.
And let's see. Okay. Sandra Bullock.
Oh, very good one.
And because most people say I look like her.
Okay.
And then after kind of just watching her go through life and everything, she's a pretty phenomenal person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed everything she's in, and the way she carries herself, and
right.
even the adversity that she's been through.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a big topic of this podcast, and there was a time in my life where, you know, there were so many things I was so ashamed of, whether if it was going to prison or drug addiction, being kicked out of the military. And, you know, I just, through going through all that, I realized that looking back, I would never change a thing, because had I not gone through it, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right.
And I wouldn't change that for anybody. We wouldn't be sitting here talking, anything like that. And so when I talk with young people and coach them or get them in the gym, or, you know, I've mentored at-risk youth before, that's one of my main messages is like, you know, you get so wrapped up in being a kid and like, you know, this person said this, or this boy or girl broke up with me, and it just becomes this such a big, profound thing in your youth. And you try to explain there, like, in 5 years, you're never even going to think about this.
Right.
It's nothing.
Right.
But getting them to understand, like, these things you think are the end are the things that are molding you to who you're going to become, and you're going to be really glad you did.
Right. And that's what with my oldest, I always tell her stuff like that. You're going to look back and think, who was that guy? Or, you know, Mom, you just don't know how hard it is. Yeah, I've had my heart broken, honey.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, everything happens for a reason, you
Yep.
know, and it all plays part of your story. So just got to embrace it, right?
Right. Do you have any of those moments that stick out to you that, like, you know, were so huge then, but think helped to mold you to be who you are today?
Sure, I do. Gosh, I had my daughter when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
And 2 months after having her, we call him bio dad, or he took off, you know, and left me with a 2-month-old baby. So I was 19 with a 2-month-old baby and going through postpartum, and also in my youth, right, and trying to figure that out. And I remember just being so distraught and depressed over the situation. And I remember I was in my mom's house staying with her, and I sat up one day and she had the mirrors on the closet doors, the full length closet, you know, mirrors on the door. And I remember just sitting up and looking at myself, and I was probably crying and all emotional and everything. And I just took this huge, like, breath in, and I just remember, like, exhaling it out and just said, you're done being depressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, keep going. And I just blew it out, and I used that as motivation. And I remember just opening up my door, and it was like, oh, my life is going to continue. And I never looked back. And then that's when I went back and finished my degree and all that. I never slowed down, never skipped a beat. I just kept going. It was never an option to not finish, you know, with that hiccup in my life, right, at 19. Right. So I ended up going back to school, and I had her in April, and then in May I enrolled in classes, and I did all that, and I just kept going. But it was that moment of just getting rid of all of it, like, right, push it all out. Just one deep breath, or 2 or 3, or however much you have, just push it out and open that door and go. Right. You know?
No, that's amazing, and that's what people need. That's what people need to hear. That's what draws people in. You know what I mean? It's a success story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, against all odds, it's a redemption story. Someone, a young 19-year-old and a single mom, and unfortunately, it's so common.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, people tend to let these obstacles that they think are huge. You know what I mean? It's huge if you make it huge, but you dusted yourself off and got right back to it.
Gotta keep going, yeah.
And never look back. And, you know, I always use the analogy, people use it for the gym all the time. And so I'll train a lot of people, and people get going, and they're doing great, and they feel good, and then they get sick, or they go on vacation, or it's just this one little roadblock that you didn't even try to get around it. You just let it stop you because that was the easiest thing to do, and little do you know, the best stuff is laying on the other side of that.
Right.
That's what's going to mold you, is going through that adversity, and it's going to build you who you're supposed to be.
Right.
So I already know that's going to motivate some young women and even men.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's both, right? That there's now single dads out there that
yeah, for sure,
that are in the same boat. So you just got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep going. And as hard as it is, it gets easier.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. So what's fun look like for you?
The gym.
The gym?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What do you like doing?
Just weights.
Weights?
Yeah, I get up at 5:30 and try to hit the gym first thing in the morning. It's my time, right? The kids are still asleep, or if not, they're bugging dad in bed that they woke up and I was gone. But I get an hour to an hour and a half by myself. I go to a really small private gym. There's hardly anybody there at that time.
There you go.
Put my music in and just knock out some weights, and that helps me keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
What kept me away from the gym for so long was the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. And
Right.
so that's what it got me into running first. And running helped me so much, but the gym taught me so much more about myself, about life. And, you know, I say it all the time, like, the way I show up in the gym is how I show up in life. You know, if I'm not putting forth that effort into the gym and
It's a discipline, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I need to do to fill my cup. That's what gets all the bad out of me, and you know what I mean, all the demons, and like gets me centered for the day. It fills my cup so I can go out and help other people.
Well, then when you start off with the gym in the morning and then you start looking at like food and what you eat, then it's like, well, I don't really want to eat that because then I'm going to feel bad at the gym tomorrow. So maybe I'll go for a healthier option. So it's like this whole, you know, snowball effect, right? And then you start to feel better, and then it's like, okay, now I feel better, and then you look better, and then it's just a domino effect.
Absolutely.
But it's all pumping good into you, you know. So
the gym in a lot of ways turned me into an old man because it made me always want to get up early to go to the gym. So then I go to bed early.
Right.
And so my wife and I, we go to bed at like 6:30. I'll be knocked out by 7. And then I'm up at 2 a.m. drinking coffee and, you know, doing what I have to do for the podcast and all that kind of stuff. And on the rare occasion we go out or do something like that, it'll take me 3 cups of coffee just to make it till 9 o'clock. And then I'm wrecked for days.
Oh, I went to a concert the other night, and I think the act started at 9:15. I was like, what? Why?
Right.
I need to take a nap before we go to this deal. Yeah.
Right. Whenever there's some event or, you know, something we're going to, it doesn't matter whatever it is, my first instinct is like, oh, it's too late. I don't want to do this.
Right.
And then I get there and it's like, all right, this is awesome. I'm so glad I went.
Yeah.
But it is real. Like, I'm wrecked for a couple days once it knocks that sleep pattern off or my gym pattern off.
Yeah.
How many days a week you work out?
I try to get, 5 for sure during the week. And then sometimes my husband will be like, you can go to the gym on Saturday or Sunday. So I'm like, yes.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He knows that it's a release for me, so it's good. Yeah.
I'm sure he probably likes dealing with you that's been to the gym as opposed to the one that hadn't
For sure.
been.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I know that's my wife too.
Yeah.
On Sundays we don't work out and I'll start getting a little antsy. But and she doesn't go to the gym. She's one of the lucky ones. She could eat McDonald's 3 times a day and just stay.
Good for her.
Stay the way she is. But then all of a sudden she's complaining about her hip or her back and all that. And I'm like, well, if you went to the gym, maybe that wouldn't be the problem. But I would never force my lifestyle on anybody else.
Yeah.
What would you say is a guilty pleasure of yours?
Sweet and sour watermelons.
You
know, like the Sour Patch
Kids?
but they're watermelons.
Oh, they're so good.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have one in my console of my truck. I have
Yeah.
I have like little bags everywhere of these watermelons. They're so good.
They are.
That's definitely a guilty pleasure.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always partial to Sour Patch Kids too. Have you ever thrown them in the freezer?
No. It's a thing?
Yeah, throw a bag in the freezer and eat them like that.
Oh.
Because
my thing is I'm trying to hide them from the kids from finding them.
Put them in a box of something healthy.
Oh yeah, okay. True.
Right?
Yeah.
Put them in a bag of broccoli.
Yeah, they'll never find them.
Yeah, there's something, because I'll sit there and eat a whole bag of them, but if you put them in the freezer, they're just a little bit harder and chewy, so I won't run through as many.
Oh.
So it'll stretch it back. I'm an addict, so I'll go in if I can't do that. So I got to find the ways to limit myself.
I like that.
But it's pretty good.
I'm going to try it when I get home.
You should. So just real quick, if people want to donate to Ray Feo, they go on rayfeo.com. You said it was? I'm sorry, rayfeo.org.
If they want to donate to me,
yes,
which will also go to the Ray Feo Scholarship Foundation, they can go to reinalindaxi.com or my name, ericalahood.com. That will take you to both places, and they can donate there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Is there anything else that you would like to let the people know about the Ray Feo, about what you do, about how they can help, how they can volunteer, anything like that?
I had an event this last weekend, and I said, contributing doesn't have to always be financially contributing. You know, if you see me out and you want to take a picture and post it and tag it, social media is huge right now. Mm-hmm. Do that. That's a way to contribute without financially contributing. Or if I share you follow me, I share a post, you share my post, and so to get other people aware and to get them engaged. It's all about engagement too. So there's little things that people can do. Just show up, be somewhere, shake my hand, take a picture, post it, tag it, all the things.
Right.
I mean, all that's a way for them to be involved without being involved,
right?
Paying for it. So there's little things like that I think people should do, and also do it for your friends and small businesses. Get behind people that are doing good for the community.
Right,
so,
absolutely. Yeah. What is if people wanted to reach out to you, and what is your social media?
Reina Linda XI.
All right, and so hopefully we can put that up on the bottom so everybody knows how to spell that. All right.
Sure.
So the way we kind of like to tie up the podcast, they've heard some of your story, they've gotten to know you a little bit, and so if you'd be willing, if you take a look in your camera, maybe throw out some I am statements that let them know who you are.
I am strong. I am disciplined. I am motivational, and I am motherly, and I am successful.
And you are Laura Linda, right?
Oh, and I am La Reina Linda, most importantly. Yeah.
There we go. Well, thank you so